You should not stay in your hometown, especially if you're in a certain if you're trying to come up, especially like in this rap game. We'll use that as our basis for our discussion. I don't think you should stay in your hometown. I do want to hear what you all are thinking. I do want to bring up a video that kind of explains something that I've been kind of pondering and thinking about, and I want to hear what you all are thinking about it. But there's an idea and there's a notion that, and I've embraced it. Everyone knows, if you follow me, I'm originally from Illinois. As soon as I was able to, I left Illinois, and I have not made any attempts to go back. I went back last week to see my dad, and driving around town, it was very interesting to go around, but I had brought my niece with me. So she went up there with me as well. And she kind of checked it out, see where uncle is from and such like that. But she quickly understood why I've never gone back. Since I've been here in Georgia for about almost 30 plus years, I probably have gone back to Illinois, to my hometown, 5 times. And that's including with my wife, that's including with my daughters. I don't go back. I don't go back at all. There's a TikTok, a YouTube short that summarizes why does Jason not go back to Illinois? And I want to kind of bring this conversation in and talk about the young Dolph case that we just watched yesterday. The young man in Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. He was unalived by people who are basically jealous of his fame. But then we also have the case down in Jacksonville, Florida, the Julio Fulio, young man born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida, in the gang life, still doing rap, all that kind of stuff like that, taking the rap game, taking the gang beefs and turn them into rap. And of course, he was unalived there. If you jump over to the West Coast, because I don't tend to talk about the West Coast very much, I wanted to look at a gentleman. His name was Nipsey Hussle. And again, a rapper. He was involved in a little bit of the gang life, a little bit as well, back there as well. But he was born and raised in LA, and he was deleted out there in LA. And I want to propose an idea, and I'm gonna bring somebody in to help explain it. Here's my idea. Certain people should leave their hometowns. You should not. Now, I know there are going to be people who contradict this, but I think they are more of the outliers than the actual rule. So you got like your T.I., sure. You have other rappers and other famous people in different areas that have stayed in their hometowns, sure. But follow me here. And I'm going to bring up this little quick clip. It's a very quick YouTube short that kind of breaks down what I'm thinking here, because I've always thought this. And when I ran across this, I'm like, oh, that's what it is. That's what I've been saying. You should not stay in your hometown, especially if you're in a certain, if you're trying to come up, especially like in this rap game. We'll use that as our basis for our discussion. I don't think you should stay in your hometown. And let's let this gentleman break it down. Shout out to the Angry Man.
So there's a content creator on TikTok that I watch quite often.
Shout out to Angry Man podcast. Gives great social commentary and such of that nature. And he's going to break down this whole young Dolph case in a very quick 58 seconds. So let's let him do that. And then I'm going to come back and then we'll see what y'all think.
So there's a content creator on TikTok that I watch quite often. And he's stirring up a lot of controversy because he's saying that Dolph lost his life because of the way he lived. In other words, he lost his life because he was in the streets. And so everybody's up in arms about that. Well, let me say this. I disagree. First of all, Dolph sold trees. You ain't supposed to lose your life selling trees, okay? But the real reason why Dolph lost his life is because he stuck around Memphis and tried to help Negroes, just like Nipsey. What he should have did is he should have left Memphis and never looked back. That's the truth.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. What do you think? Just think about it. Like, let's look at the Jeffrey Williams story right here. Everybody around him were his friends, people that he was raised with. But the street, the Cleveland Avenue, the Zone 3, the Zone 6, it just kept calling him. He kept getting, if you go back and watch the trial, how many people are witnesses that were in the street life, that knew him, that were, childhood friends? Because my goodness, they were children in some of those clips. Is it possible, or maybe should, somebody who's on the come up leave their hometown? And I've said this even about Woody. I said this about Woody, that he should leave the area, get out of Mechanicsville, and go somewhere else where everybody doesn't know his name. Well, sadly, Woody, probably everybody does know his name, but you get my point 100%, right? What do y'all think about the idea? Get out of the area. Get out of the area, because trying to help the people that are around you, that you were raised around, the children that were your peers and such, maybe that's what's pulling people down. Maybe that's what's dragging them down. Now, maybe you can still start a program that, and send money and send support and send backing. But you yourself, as the artist, you yourself as the name, somebody used the term crab in a barrel, you're the one that's making that's getting out. Maybe you don't need to be in the area. And that's just something I thought about. And I ran across this today from Angry Man. Again, shout out to the Angry Man podcast. And I said, that's what I was thinking. Because if you look at what happened to young Dolph in Memphis, Tennessee, he was born, he was raised in Memphis, Tennessee. He knew them streets, and the streets knew him. Sure, he was a drug dealer, and he was selling weed. But again, that's beside the point. He was trying to help his community. He was trying, and everybody who's testified about his life is saying, like, he was helpful here. He was doing this, that, and other. He was providing programs here, this, that, and other for his community, which is all well and good. But maybe he should have been doing that from afar. Maybe he should have been doing that from, Houston. What if he had moved to Dallas? What if he had moved to Atlanta? What if he had moved somewhere else and was just sending support or coming to visit every other month or something of that nature? But I want to hear, what do you think about these situations? Because we've watched several. We're looking at the Young Thug case right now. We just concluded the Young Dolph case, the Julio Fulio down in Florida. That one's getting ready to get started. The Nipsey Hussle one, that one is done away with. But how many times are we going to see this person that is born and raised in an area, Grady baby, born and raised in an area, and never really leaves from that area? And granted, he or she is on the come up. He or she is making great strides and wanting to be helpful, but maybe they don't need to do that. Maybe they need to move away to be helpful and send support. Now, of course, I know somebody's going to say, there's definitely outliers. I think T.I. right here in Atlanta is an outlier, in my opinion. He is an outlier, because keep in mind also, T.I. doesn't live where he was born. T.I. doesn't live where he was raised. T.I. does not live in the hood anymore. He's not in, now, granted, he might have rapped about it. He might have been involved in it. Same thing with Jeezy. Same thing with Gucci Mane. They're not living where they were raised. They're living somewhere else in Atlanta. And Metro's pretty big. We got lots of areas that they can go hide in. They're not living where they were raised. Jeezy is not living where he used to sell cocaine. That's not where he lives. So my point is, maybe they should leave from the area. And I want to hear what y'all are thinking. So let's give it a shot. Let's go. Let's go. He's speaking facts. 100%. Thank you so much. Leaving the hometown can save your life if you become successful. That's where your biggest haters will come from. That is truth right there. That is it. That's exactly what, I mean, you summarized it. I can shut the whole live stream down. You just messed the whole thing up. Thank you. That was perfect. And I'm just wondering, is that what happened with Jeffrey? He just didn't leave the area. He should have got away. Now, Atlanta, and maybe he needs to move further away. I hate to say it, maybe he should move to Chicago. Maybe he should have moved to, Massachusetts. I don't know, but Atlanta is only one of many. Move to Denver, start a new rap scene in Montana. You know what I'm saying? But this maybe that's it. Is that possible? And actually, I'm glad you said that, Daniel Watcher, because I was actually going to use that passage. You know, a prophet is not without honor except in his own hometown. Now, Jesus left. I mean, be like Jesus. I want Jeffrey to leave. I want all those cats to leave. Go away. Go somewhere else and learn a craft. Yesterday, we had Antonio pop in. I mean, another brother pop in. He used to be in the streets up in North Carolina. He went to jail for 10 years, got out, and he said, I could go back into this where I was making lots of money every day doing the wrong thing. They got me put in jail, or I can just take this I think he said 825 job at Chipotle. He chose the Chipotle job, and now he's a CDL driver. He owns several trucks. Somebody is driving his truck, making money for him, and he's driving another truck, making money, and he's doing right. And so that's a great story. And if you missed that yesterday, it's on yesterday's live stream. The reason I bring that up is the brother said, like, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy when you're used to making money like this, but you also was subtracted you from your family, taking away 10 years of your life. 120 months is not something to wink at. And he said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take this $8.25 an hour job at Chipotle and make burritos until I can do better. And now he's doing way better. Shout out to him. So I think that's something that we need to think about and posture, like maybe getting out of the game is the right thing to do. And the game might be just the fact that everybody knows my name here in my town. Now, I wasn't born and raised here, so I feel comfortable. My hometown where I was born and raised, I'm like, I don't know a lot of y'all people here either, but there ain't nothing for me there. So run, Forrest, run. Usually people pull you down. You don't pull them up. And go back and go look at this Young Thug case. Look at how many people this young man wanted to bring up. He was trying his best to bring a lot of people up. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't going to be successful. Maybe what he was seeking to do was not going to be successful. And maybe therein is the problem. Yeah, there you go. A new place can help you focus yourself. I said that about Woody. I think he should leave Mechanicsville. Woody should leave. He should go somewhere where the Wi-Fi is bad and they got cows running around free range. Like go to Utah or something. Just go away. Go away and get out of the game. Just get out of the game, because here is just too much. Everybody knows your name. The streets know you and you know the streets. That's not a good combination for somebody like that. I just think it wouldn't be good. It would be better. Somebody said he has to move. He has to move his family. You know what? Take your whole family with you. If I move, I'm taking my wife and my kids. Okay, that's just going to be reality. Missy said, she said, look, I miss my brother every day, but I wouldn't bring him back here. There we go. My brother moved from our hometown and he lived in Bloomington, Illinois, which is southern Illinois, and then he moved to Texas. And he's doing fantastic. Now, we weren't involved in the streets, and the streets are not involved with us, but it was still a better move for him. Absolutely. Real quick, thank you so very much, Amethyst Angel. Just remember, wherever you go, there you are. Who are you? Absolutely. And I think that's true. It does give me, however, an opportunity to change, shake off some of that old stuff that I was a part of. Maybe if I come here, I can reinvent myself. If I move over there, I can be somebody different. I've always wanted to do something different, but the streets kept calling me. Now I'm somewhere else and the streets don't know my number. So now I can do something different. But it is on that person, because if you look, they got streets in Montana too. They got hood in Montana, just like they got hoods in Zone 6. So don't just think that you're going to be hood free if you go over somewhere else and you still got the hood in you. Thank you, Amethyst Angel, for the very kind $5 super. And welcome, Mixed Chick, to the Copped yourself a membership. Welcome. As well as Gordon. Welcome, my friend. Grace and peace to both of y'all. Welcome as new members. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right. What does pretty black girl say? Everyone tries to use the LeBron factor to pull your friends up to help them, but that's not the norm. Amen. And I was doing, and when I was doing a little quick research on this, I do understand the LeBron factor, but yeah, most people are not LeBron. Most people are the Jeffrey Williams. Most people are the young Dolph, or most people are Jason Whitaker. You might just leave with the shirt on your back and the family in the car. Let's go. It's not going to be me helping everybody else. And jealousy is real. Absolutely. It seems like the overall consensus, and I should have made a poll about this. The overall consensus seems to be, you know what? Moving is the right thing to do. And definitely in the light and the age that we're in today. Of course, our parents, maybe grandparents, they might have stayed somewhere, but my grandparents are originally from Mississippi on both sides. My mom's and my dad's parents are from different parts of Mississippi, and they both moved up north to different parts of Illinois and Minneapolis. But it was the right thing for them. They couldn't stay in the South. It just wasn't a good look. I'm glad that that makes sense. Absolutely. Kim Possible, love the name. And I'm just wondering, from Bankhead to Buckhead. Okay, there we go. Now, I don't think Bankhead is far enough away. I don't think Buckhead, I'm sorry, is far enough away from Bankhead, but you know, I totally get your point. I totally get your point. But maybe Buckhead, because I'm sure there's a Buckhead in Colorado. Go from Bankhead, Atlanta to Buckhead, Colorado. And now I think you're far enough away. At least a time zone. You need a little time zone, Mason, Dixie line, a little bit of seasonal changes. Because you know, here in Georgia, we only got like 3 seasons. But you know, that kind of stuff. You need some kind of bona fide change, in my opinion. You're gonna have to convince me that with all of the safety nets that we have currently in play in America right now today, if you said, "Hey, I'm in Minneapolis and or I'm in Detroit. I'm in Detroit and it is it's bad here." And Jason, I heard Jason, you know what? I want to move to Chattanooga. You're gonna have to convince me. And I mean by convince, we're gonna get a notepad and we're gonna get maps and we're gonna get on LinkedIn, and you're gonna have to convince me that you cannot within a year move from Detroit to Chattanooga, Tennessee. You're gonna have to convince me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's just entirely too many options. Now, if we rewind time to several years back or decades ago, I can probably understand what you're talking about. But here now today, there's entirely too many options available. So I'm not picking fights. Yeah, I am picking a fight. You're going to have to convince me that you cannot just say, you know what? Now I'm not saying do it on the fly. I'm not saying move today and you're in Chattanooga by Sunday. Not saying that. What I am saying is, if you set a time limit, say, you know what, by this time next year, by the end of the summer, 2025, by Christmas 2025, we're going to be moved to Chattanooga. I'm gonna have a job, have a place to live, school for the kids. We're gonna know where the Walmart is. We're gonna know where the Starbucks, all that kind of jazz like that. And have a church lined up, all that kind of stuff like that. You're gonna have to convince me that you can't do that. I'm not trying to be mean, but if you wanted to, I think you could. And let's go back again. And I started this conversation talking about like Jeffrey Williams and young Dolph and individuals like that. They weren't lacking those resources. So they themselves could have. Jeffrey Williams was more than able to do that. Get out of Atlanta. Young Dolph was more than able to do that. Get out of there. So that's just my little 2 cents. But you know what? You know whose 2 cents I want to hear? I want to hear Woman of Valor's 2 cents. Tell me
Okay.
who you are and where are you?
I am Carrie. I am a clinical counselor. I live in Texas, in San Antonio. And so, what I was saying was the art of forgiveness as far as Jeffrey is concerned.
Mhm.
I do believe that if he wasn't a forgiving person, he would really have a tough time, even worse than what he's probably already going through. For the simple fact that, his childhood friends, most of them pretty much turned their backs on him.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Do you feel like he would have we would probably be having this conversation if he had moved maybe to San Antonio? Do you think we'd be having this
I
conversation?
I don't think we would be having this conversation right now. I do believe that he should have moved. Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, and I hate it because I know that area. Like I said, I used to teach there. I know exactly where Cleveland, I know exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of opportunity. Like you do have to, and again, it's not for everybody. It's not that it's a surefire. Because if you
Yeah.
move from Atlanta and you go to Chicago, I'm not guaranteeing you much. Okay, I'm not promising you much, but I do think if he had left, it might have been better for him. And he can
And
still send resources. He can still
absolutely.
start the Jeffrey Williams after school program or
Yeah.
whatever of that nature. Have a studio that you visit,
Hmm.
but you
And
don't
thank God
currently
that
live
he
there.
did
Yeah.
flourish. He did a
Yes.
great job, and I'm really proud of him. But I think you're right on it. He should have moved.
Yeah.
And
And
that's all I had to say, sir.
well, no problem. I appreciate you stopping by. You are more than welcome whenever to stop by. And I don't
Absolutely.
know. I
Thank
might
you
need
so
I
much.
might need a clinical counselor. So I might need to call you and be like, look,
Come
sit in
on.
my chair, help me.
That's all right. I'm here
I love it. Thank you so
anytime.
much, woman of
Thank
valor.
you. Bye
Have a
bye.
wonderful day.
You
Grace
too.
and peace.
Thanks. You too.
Did I do it right? Okay, yeah. No, that was it. So I'm just wondering if this situation would be better if an individual, and shout out to Woman of Valor who said, like, you know what, he was being forgiving. He's trying to, reach out to his community, which I think is valid, which is extremely noble. And we hear it. We heard it with Brian Steele, that video that he did speaking to the young lady. He talks about all the things that Young Thug has done. You're really hard to convince me that this dude is just out here doing all that dirt that they're talking about and also doing all this on the other side. It just doesn't seem like it doesn't make sense. Not saying it's possible, just saying it don't make sense. However, I do think he was forgiving, but I think he was forgiving to the fault that, you know what, I got to cut these people off. I got to maybe uh, deal with them from afar, not because they're bad, but because if I'm involved in it, I might get caught back up. And I think that's what it is. Uh, Mika said that he left the area, but tried to help pull up people that were not for him. That's that's it. I'm saying, like, I think being disconnected from them, if I cut the connection between me and these people, and then I can look at them maybe differently and say, you know what, they ain't really for me. They ain't trying to help me, and they ain't trying to help themselves. They out there going to end up getting me in trouble, get me caught up, and they're going to drag me down. Peter, I feel people are desperate for any help from citizens because government has no interest in helping. I agree. And if there was a means or a way, and I'm gonna throw some shade at Fani because all that big talk that she was doing in those multiple press conferences about gangs and so on and so forth, she's done nothing to alleviate the gang problem outside of just putting people in jail in an overcrowded Fulton County jail. How smart is that? Nothing else is being done. So, but I do think it is on the community primarily, because I think if you're waiting for the government to help you, you are going to have a problem. Abraham left his home. I see what you did there. Get out of Fulton County. Yeah. I mean, for crying out loud, you can move from Fulton County, get out of Atlanta and go to Savannah. There you go. If you want to stay in Georgia, go to Savannah. Go to Albany. Go to Athens. That's where the University of Georgia is. And I mean, that's a beautiful place. I love Athens. That's why I want President Firstborn to go to Athens so I can go visit Athens a lot more. But I mean, that's a very nice place. It's 2 hours away from Atlanta. You can still go to the studio, all that kind of jazz like that, but you're not in the mix. That might be a little too close now I think about it, but you got my point. Birmingham, that's still 2 hours away too. There's not a lot of, you got my point. Shout out to it all. I like legal paralegal said, I want to feel missed. There you go. So legal paralegal is going to leave from wherever so that they missed. There you go. I love it. I like that. I love it. We watch YouTube. Gonna make sure you know. Look, Abraham left, Jonah left. See. Follow after the scripts. Follow after the scriptures. I love it. Now, Shay says here, I think Jeffrey felt a sense of obligation to his community. He wanted those guys to do better than they did. They were all the same mindset they had maturing to do. Amen. And I think that is their problem. I think that everybody had the exact same mindset. So I don't know who it is. There's some author, and I read, you're the sum total of the 5 people that you hang around the most. And If they all here, if they all failed out of high school, the likelihood of you being a PhD is nil. If they're all making 30,000, the likelihood of you making 130,000 is nil. However, if all of your friends are PhDs, then the likelihood of you becoming a PhD is much easier. If all of your friends are making 130,000, the likelihood of you making 130 is a lot easier. So I do think there's something to be said there. I just think that somebody had to break out the cycle. And since Jeffrey was the one that was definitely on the come up, he was the one, the name, I think him getting out of the mix. And again, you can still send a lifeline. You can still leave breadcrumbs of success. You don't have to just cut them off and never communicate with them. But on the same note, if they're all needing maturing, I don't know how they can all mature better if they're all at the same level together. But if you leave this area and you're like, hey, man, do you know there's another world? Like, for example, I tell the story all the time. When I came here to Atlanta, I had never been to Atlanta. When I first heard about Morehouse College, I was like, where's that? What is that about? I didn't know anything about Atlanta. I was that sheltered in my mind that I'd never actually been. I'd come to the South. I'd never been to Georgia. I'd been to Mississippi and Alabama by that time. Yeah. But I didn't know anything about it. And I was totally blown away when I came here to Atlanta the first time. When I first saw this, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is amazing. And that was it. And when I went back to Illinois and sat down for coffee with my two elementary school friends, we joked about the fact, like Jason said, he was leaving and he never came back. Like when I graduated and was able to leave, that was it. That was it. It was a wrap. So I can understand it, but you got to get out of it, though, in my opinion. Truckers make good money. I've heard excellent things about that. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Lots of good conversation going on. Yeah. And Les says here, that video of them when they were kids, which was probably like last Tuesday, let's be honest, they look really young. They need some leaders to step in and lead those kids' lives. Absolutely. No argument, no contention for me at all. By the way, I want to say thank you so much to Mandy. She was saying that her brother was running the streets, moving, um, saved his life, and he built a great career and life for himself. And I'm so proud of him, of who he is today. I think this was a big eye opener for Thug as well. I pray that he's able to get out of it. I pray that this case goes in the direction that most of us think it should go, and that he's able to rebound from this and do something else with his life. But I think definitely unequivocally getting out of zone 6, leaving the Atlanta area is going to probably be the right thing for him. I really believe that Jeffrey stayed to help the community. I don't disagree. I believe, and matter of fact, I think that he did help the community. I do believe that. That couldn't help him. Young man testified for him to show him a new life possible. And that's the thing. I think the problem was, yes, Jeffrey was able to provide phenomenal opportunities. How many of those up and coming rappers were involved in it, in his studio and such of that nature? How many of them? Lots of them. The thing is, I just don't think at the end of the day, he was going to be able to lift them up as much as they would. Not saying that they intentionally did it, but just the fact of where you're from drags you back down. I just don't think he was able to break the gravitational pull of where he's from, and therein is the problem. So
hit that like for deal with Christian. Yo, for deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for deal with Christian. For deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for deal with Christian.